Well, hello everybody and good morning wherever you are around the world. Local time here in Sweden where I am sitting at my desk is 12:03 p.m. So we are in the second half of the day. You are probably asleep in North America if you watch this from North America. And hopefully you see this later on because this is my prediction video of the International Booker long list that will come on Tuesday next week from London, England. Well, it's another prediction, and we are in the middle of award season. Last week, we got the Women's Prize long list. I made a prediction video about that. I also made a reaction video where I sort of named you my four favorites from that long list, which didn't have anything in common with my prediction. But hopefully this one is going to be a lot better. And hopefully if you watch this from South America, from Italy, Spain, Portugal, Greece, wherever, you will have beautiful spring weather already. We in Sweden, we are still in a great period of the year, and we hope that spring will come in about a month or 1.5. Well, let's speak about translated literature and the International Booker Prize 2024. What I want to say, the longest actually comes on Monday. That's my ear is telling me right now, and it will contain 12 books, maybe a dozen. It might also be a Booker dozen of 13 books. The eligibility of the books, well, I quote the webpage where it says the 2024 judging panel will be looking for the best work of fiction translated into English, selected from entries published in the UK or Ireland between May 1, 2023 and April 30, 2024, so about 2 months ahead of time. The winner will receive a cheque about 50,000 Great Britain pounds, and this cheque must be shared 25K for the writer and 25K for the translator. Let me add that both short story collections and novels are eligible, and that the award is current. The form is quite young, the current form of the award, because it was changed. Let's go back in history a little bit. Until 2015, the award was given to authors for a body of work and not one single work as it is today. And in the beginning, it was possible that authors got nominated who spoke and wrote English as their first or native language, which brought a lot of celebrity writers like Margaret Atwood, Saul Bellow, Doris Lessing, Ian McEwan, and John Updike on the very first list of nominees. This looks like an all-star Nobel Prize selection, doesn't it? But 19 years ago, that was 19 years ago in the very first edition of the prize. In 2016, then came the first year with the new rules. No more books originally published in English were in the focus of attention, but translated works of fiction, translated literature, and the inaugural winner of the very first year of that new format in 2016, if you would say inaugural for that one, was the South Korean writer Han Kang for her disturbing, I read it in the beginning of this year, novel, The Vegetarian, translated by Deborah Smith. Since then, the award went to Israel, to Poland, to Oman, to the Netherlands, to France, to India, and last year to Time Shelter, the novel by Georgi Gospodina from Bulgaria that I loved, and the novel, not the novel, but the writer that I'm going to see in, I think in April or May, he will be coming to Stockholm for the publication of the Swedish translation, and I'm so excited to have an evening with Georgi Gospodinov. Well, 8 awards have been handed out. 50% of them ended up in Europe. Well, that shows something, if anything, about the focus of the prize, and I could be critical here. I might save that for a later video. 25% went to the Middle East and 25% to Asia. So never ever has the International Booker Translation Award gone to Africa. Never it has gone to South America, for example. Well, where will the award end up in 2024, and what books could be on the long list? Let's take a closer look at Rainier Books, at Reiner's long list here on this channel. Actually, a friend suggested a while ago that I should rename the channel to Reindeer Books, since I'm located in Sweden, and Sweden is somehow in the north, and we have reindeers. But to be honest, to see reindeers in the wild, I would have to travel 800 kilometers north at least. But Now get to the book on my let's get to the books on my long list. I basically talk about the transcription, the description, sorry, that the publisher has sort of given to the books here. The first one comes from my very native language, from German, and this would be Kairos by Jenny Appenbeck. Let me show you the information about that book. You can read it down here. It was translated from the German by Michael Hoffman, and published by Granta Books on June the 1st in 2023. And this book starts in Berlin, or Berlin as we say in German, on the 11th of July in 1986. They meet by chance on a bus. She's a young student, he is older and married. Theirs is an intense and sudden attraction, fueled by a shared passion for music and art, and heightened by the secrecy they must maintain. But when she strays for a single night, he cannot forgive her, and a dangerous crack forms between them, open up a space for cruelty, for punishment, and the exertion of power. And the world around them is changing too, as the GDR, former East Germany for the younger ones. Germany was a divided country until 1989. As the GDR begins to crumble, so too do all the old certainties and the old loyalties, ushering in a new era whose great gains also involve profound loss. Well, Jenny Appenbeck, she's a prize-winning German writer, and this is an intimate and devastating story of the path of two lovers through the ruins of a relationship, which is set against the backdrop of a seismic period in European history. That's Jenny Appenbeck's novel. The second one might be interesting to you. It is from a writer from Africa, actually, I think living in Portugal right now. This is Whites Can Dance 2 by Calaf Palanga, translated from the Portuguese by a very, renowned, translated from that language, Daniel Hahn or Daniel Hain, I don't know. Published by Faber and Faber on June 15 in 2023. Hours before performing at one of Europe's most iconic music festivals, Calaf Palanga is detained at the border on suspicion of being an illegal immigrant. Trapped, his thoughts soon thrum to the beat of kuduro, the blistering, techno-infused Angolan music which has taken him from Luanda to Kristiansund in Norway, from Beirut to Rio de Janeiro, and from Paris to Lisbon. Shifting between his reflections while incarcerated and the stories of Sofia, Calaf's friend at the heart of the Lisbon dance scene, and the Viking, the immigration official holding Calaf's fate in his hands, Whites Can Dance 2 is a celebration of the music of Epalanga's homeland and a hypnotic paean to cultural roots, to freedom, and to love. Let's go to the next book here on the list, and we travel a little to the west where I am right now. This is Norway, and this is My Man by Victoria Kielland, translated from the Norwegian by Damien Searles and published by Pushkin Press on July 6 last year. 17-year-old Brynhild is in a fever. She can't quiet the screaming world inside her. When an intense affair ends brutally, she flees Norway for America at the end of the 19th century in search of a new life. Changing her name first to Bella, later to Belle, she is driven from any potential refuge by an unbearable tension that won't let her keep still. As Belle seeks release in a series of men, her yearning for an all-consuming love erupts into violence. In this breathtaking novel, Victoria Kielland imagines her way into the tumultuous inner life of the Norwegian woman who became Belle Gunness, America's first known female serial killer. Written in prose of wild, visceral beauty, My Man is a radically empathetic and disquieting portrait of a woman capable of ecstatic love and gruesome cruelty. Well, that does sound interesting. A bit of true crime in it as well. The next one, we're going to Asia, to the country of the first winner of the International Booker Prize in its current form. This is a collection of short stories by a very famous author. It's called It's called Miss Kim Knows and Other Stories by Cho Nam-yu, translated from the Korean by Jamie Chang, and published by Scribner on August the 3rd last year. A woman is born. A woman is filmed in public without consent. A woman suffers domestic violence. A woman is gaslit. A woman is discriminated against at work. A woman grows old. A woman becomes famous. A woman is hated and loved and then hated again. Written in Cho Nam-jo's masterful, razor-sharp prose, Miss Kim Knows brings together the lives of 8 Korean women, aged 10 to 80. Contained in each of these biographies is a microcosm of contemporary Korea and the challenges and injustices that women face from childhood to old age. As with Kim Yi-young, born 1982, the fates of these 8 women are the fates of women the world over. And under Cho Nam-jo's precise and unveiled gaze, nothing and nobody escapes scrutiny, not even herself. If you have read Kim Yi-young, born 1982, which was a groundbreaking novel in South Korea, which led to riots almost in the South Korean society about the treatment, about the role of women, then this is certainly one that you would want to read by Cho Nam-jo too. So let's go for that one. The next title on my list is, I already started it yesterday because I got it from the library, is Lost on Me by Veronica Raimo and translated from the Italian by Lea Janecko and published by Virago on August the 3rd last year. Vero has grown up in Rome with her eccentric family, an omnipresent mother who is devoted to her own anxiety, a father ruled by hygienic and architectural obsessions, and a precocious genius brother at the center of their attention. As she becomes an adult, Vero's need to strike out on her own leads her into bizarre and comical situations. She tries and fails to run away to Paris at the age of 15. She moves into an unwitting older boyfriend's house after they have been together for less than a week, and she sets up a fraudulent and wildly successful street clothing stall to raise funds to go to Mexico. Most of all, she falls in love, repeatedly, dramatically, and often with the most unlikely and inappropriate of candidates. As she continues to plot escapades and her mother's relentless tracking methods and guilt-tripping mastery thwart her at every turn, it is no wonder that Vero becomes a writer and a liar, inventing stories in a bid for her own sanity. Narrated in a voice as wryly ironic as it is warm and affectionate, Lost on Me seductively explores the slippery relationship between deceitfulness and creativity, beginning with Vero's first artistic achievement, a painting she steals from a school classmate and successfully claims as her own. Deceptively simple, its tenderness offset by moments of cool brutality, Lost on Me is a masterwork of human observation. Well, I started it, it's very funny, and I like the beginning very much. The next one is Pink Slime by Fernanda Trias, translated from the Spanish, the writers from Uruguay, by Heather Cleary, and published by Scribe on August 10 last year. A port city is in the grips of an ecological crisis. The river has filled with toxic algae, and a deadly red wind blows through its streets. Much of the coast has been evacuated as the wealthy migrate inland to safety, leaving the rest to shelter in abandoned houses as blackouts and food shortages abound. The unnamed narrator is one of those who has stayed. She spends her days trying to disentangle herself from the two relationships that had once meant everything to her, and looking after the young boy who's been placed in her care. As the world in which they move becomes smaller, she reflects on the collapse of the other emotional lies in her life and the emergence of a radical vet tender solitude. With striking prose and vivid characters, the multi-award winning Pink Slime offers profound reflections on motherhood, marriage, and caregiving, set against the backdrop of a crumbling city. The next one is an author that has been praised before for her earlier work. The novel is called My Work by Olga Raun, translated from the Danish by Jennifer Russell and published by Lolly Editions on September 1 last year. After giving birth, Anna is utterly lost. She and her family move to the unfamiliar snowy city of Stockholm. Välkommen to Stockholm. That's can I say from here in Stockholm. Anxiety threatens to completely engulf the new mother, who obsessively devours online news and compulsively buys clothes she can't afford. To avoid sinking deeper into her depression, Anna forces herself to read and to write. My work is a novel about the unique, and fundamental experience of giving birth, mixing different literary forms, fiction, essay, poetry, memoir, and letters, to explore the relationship between motherhood, work, individuality, and literature. And this is Olga Raun. The next book on my list is The Postcard by Anne Berest, translated from the French by Tina Cover and published by Europa Editions on October 5 last year. In January 23, the Berest family received a mysterious unsigned postcard. On one side was an image of the Opera Garnier, on the other, the names of their relatives who were killed in Auschwitz: Ephraim, Emma, Noemi, and Jacques. Years later, Anne sought to find the truth behind the postcard. She journeys 100 years into the past, tracing the lives of her ancestors from their flight from Russia, following the revolution, the journey to Latvia, to Palestine, and Paris, the war and its aftermath. What emerges is a thrilling and sweeping tale based on true events that shatters her certainties about her family, her country, and herself. At once a gripping investigation into family secrets, a poignant tale of mothers and daughters, and an enthralling portrait of 20th century Parisian intellectual and artistic life, the postcard tells the story of a family devastated by the Holocaust and yet somehow restored by love and the power of storytelling. Such an interesting list. I love it, to be honest. The next one is Roman Stories by Jhumpa Lahiri, translated from the Italian by the author and Todd Portnowitz and published by Picador on October 12, 2023. A man recalls a summer party that awakens an alternative version of himself. A couple haunted by a tragic loss return to seek consolation. An outsider family is pushed out of the block in which they hope to settle. A set of steps in a Roman neighborhood connects the daily lives of the city's myriad inhabitants. This is an evocative fresco of Rome, which is a beautiful city. I have been there for the last time in 2016, which was my third visit to Rome. The most alluring character of all is the city, contradictory in constant transformation, and a home to those who know they can't fully belong, but choose anyway to be there. The next one comes again from the French, and I think that's the weakness on my list, that I have 3 novels that are translated from the French, and I think they won't make it. All of them won't make it, but hopefully this one. Vengeance is Mine by Maria Ndiaye, translated from the French by Jordan Stump and published by MacLehose Press on October 26, 2023. When Gilles Principaux walks into Maître Suzanne's legal practice seeking representation for his wife, his presence triggers memories from her childhood she had long buried. Thank you, neighbor, for disturbing my video now. Gilles' wife is charged with drowning their 3 children, a case that will be splashed across the news media in Bordeaux and beyond. So why has he entrusted his wife's fate to her small and unremarkable practice? Maître Suzanne can't shake this feeling that she has met him before, that something happened between them one afternoon when she was barely 10 and he was 14. Something sinister she has never known how to remember. But Gilles seems so at ease in presence that Maître Suzanne begins to believe that her memory must be playing tricks on her. Haunted by a past that both escapes and consumes her, Maître Suzanne fights to hold on to her memory, her identity, and the chance she's been given to avenge herself. That neighbor actually is doing this every weekend. I don't know, it must be a great project. Okay, we get to the next book on the line, which is actually on the list of many of my wonderful and beautiful colleagues here on Booktube. This is Kibago, and it might be the first prize that goes to Africa if it wins. Kibogo by Scholastique Mukasonga. It's translated from the French, but the writer is from Rwanda, by Marc Polisotti and published by Daunt Books in London. Very beautiful bookshop. Go there on Marylebone High Street on October the 5th, 2023. In 4 beautifully woven parts, Mukasanga spins a marvelous recounting of the clash between ancient Rwandan beliefs and the missionaries determined to replace them with European Christianity. When a rogue priest is defrocked for using the Gospels with a martyrdom of Kibogo, a fierce clash of cults ensues. Swirling with a heady smell of wet earth and flashes of acerbic humor, Mukasanga brings to life the vital mythologies that imbue the Rwandan spirit. In doing so, she gives us a tale of disarming simplicity and profound universal truth. Kibogo's story is reserved for the evening's end, when women sit around a fire drinking honeyed brew, when just a few are able to stave off sleep. With heads nodding, drifting to the mist of a dream, one faithful storyteller will weave the old legends of the hillside, stories which church missionaries have done everything in their power to expunge. Well, that is a favorite of many of my colleagues and of myself here for the long list. The next book is from a publisher that I absolutely love, from Edinburgh. The publisher is in Edinburgh. It's Charco Press, and the book is called The Delivery by Margarita Garcia Roballo, translated from the Spanish by Megan McDowell and published on October 24 last year. In The Delivery, an enormous package arrives that can't be opened. Agatha, the cat, appears and disappears. Half-finished buildings punctuate the horizon, semi-ordinary happenings that take on an otherworldly cast if you look at them sideways. And nothing is stranger in this high-rise apartment, far from home, than the tenuous bonds of family that hold us together, or don't. The narrator works, zooms with her sinister, makes with her sister, not with her sinister, maybe her sinister sister, makes plans for the future, a writing residency, a child, and tentatively probes her past while subtle fissures open up around her, changing her life forever. She says about her childhood home, "Sometimes I get curious, but I don't ask, because the answer could come with information I'd rather not know." By turns tender and biting, this is Roballo's finest work yet, says Charco Press. And now the last one, last but not least, absolutely. One of my favorite writers since her first 2 novels. The first one was Winter in Sakcho. The second one was The Pachinko Parlor. And the third one that is now translated into English and should be on the long list of the 2024 Booker Police. This is my favorite author, one of my favorite authors, Elise Chua du Sapin from France. Elisa Chua du Sapin, excuse madame. This is Vladivostok Circus, translated from the French by Anissa Abbas-Higgins, published by Daunt Books on February 8, 2024. And Elisa won the National Book Award for Translated Fiction a couple of years back for her first novel, Winter in Sakcho. This is Vladivostok Circus. Natalie, she arrives at the circus in Vladivostok, Russia, which is, if you don't know it, it's in the far east of Russia, 9,000 kilometers away from Moscow, in the last time zone, in the 11th time zone in Russia, if you go east. Fresh out of art college in Geneva, in Switzerland. She's there to design the costumes for a trio of artists who are due to perform one of the most dangerous acts of all, the Russian bar. As winter approaches, the season at Vladivostok winds down, the windy port city deserted as performers head home, all except the Russian bar trio and their manager. They are scheduled to perform at a festival in Ulan-Ude, which is at Lake Baikal. You have to go west again, 2,000 kilometers probably, just before Christmas. What ensues is an intimate and beguiling account of 4 people learning to work with and trust one another. This is a book about the delicate balance that must be achieved when flirting with death in such spectacular fashion. Set against the backdrop of a cloudy ocean, Vladivostok Circus explores collaboration, creativity, and belonging, all the while immersing the reader in du Sapin's trademark dreamlike prose. Very well described, Daunt Books. I really agree to the fullest. Her dreamlike prose, that is something that has fascinated me with her first novel, Winter in Sakcho, and her second novel, The Pachinko Parlor, and I can't wait to get my hands on Vladivostok Circus. I will order it right away after I finish this video. This is my book a dozen. Was it 12? Was it 13 books for the long list? I give a list down below of other amazing booktubers who had made who have made lists as well. And I can say that Scholastique Mukasonga appears on many of those lists of my colleagues too. So watch all those other videos by all the amazing booktubers who try to give you sort of not really probably a prediction of the Booker Longlist, because we're all failing, I'm pretty sure about that. But we all try to give you books in translation, into English translation that might be interesting you, because the sound of the world, the orchestra of the world literature that is given to us in English translation is so beautiful, it's so masterfully, and it gives us so many insights in other parts of the world and other cultures and other human beings, and they tell us so much about the human condition when we sort of turn our gaze, turn our view away from the USA or Canada or the UK, Australia, and turn our gaze to other parts of the world. And that is all I have to say for today. I see you soon in another video. Please also tell me if this kind of live performance, or whatever you might call it, this live video, is okay for you, or if I should go back to more edited versions of my videos. I tried to give all the information about the books down below. You can see it there. So if you're interested, write it down. I will also write it down in the description of the video in a few weeks, but not today, because you are supposed to watch it until the beautiful end. Thanks very much, and have a great weekend, and see you soon. Bye-bye.